Lest it be said that I am relentlessly negative about the state of things, let me tell you about something that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is doing really well at right now, and that is architecture. I think the temples they're building these days are great. I think those cookie-cutter meeting houses are actually also great. But the best building the church has in the pipe right now is neither one of those, so let's get into it. I decided to make this video after the recent-ish release of the rendering of the Spanish Fork, Utah temple, because I'm just such a big fan of this thing. I love all the little details on it. I love how these squared off corners and that high center section give it a sort of heavy, solid appearance that makes up for the fact that the towers are maybe a little shorter than some of the other temples. And speaking of towers, there's two of them. I can't tell you guys how big of a fan I am of temples with two towers. They're such a unique shape that's really different from what other religions do with their churches, and they're also an important part of our heritage as Latter-day Saints, with several pioneer-era temples being built to this design. And I wish this design was used more often. There's a fair few of them in the state of Utah, but once you get outside of it, there's only a handful worldwide, and some nerd can come correct me in the comment section if I've missed one on this map. It's nice to see them doing another one of these, and overall, if I was making a tier list, this Spanish Fork Temple would be a solid high A tier design. But while I've mostly been talking about big temples in Utah so far, and yes, those are great, it turns out there's a lot of other temples being built in other parts of America and all around the world. And the church is doing rather well with these too. Even the ones that are a bit more run-of-the-mill, I think, still look really good. And the only problem with the ones that I'd rank a little lower is that they're kind of bland, not that there's anything actually wrong with them. Which is a huge improvement from the times in the past when the church tried to build large numbers of small temples all at once. Whether it's with the six-spired sloped roof design from the 80s or the small Hinckley temple from the 2000s, in the past when the church has tried to bring the temple to the people all at once, it's resulted in some questionable design. I especially want to highlight these sloped roof small temples being built in the Pacific Ocean right now. This one's in American Samoa, and on top of looking just really good on its own, this design is an homage to the blue-roofed Pacific temples built in the 1980s. It's so cool to watch this regional architectural style develop. Overall, the church is doing really well with temples right now, and that's a good thing because each temple, large or small, is the house of the Lord and ought to reflect His holiness to the best of our abilities. Alright, moving on to something that people maybe don't like as much, the meeting houses. Yes, it's cookie cutter, yes, we've seen it a million times by now, but these are not actually bad looking buildings. It looks a lot better in my opinion than the standard plan meeting houses of previous generations, and they're also allowing for more customization from building to building than they did in the past as well, though obviously not everyone gets this treatment. Yes, it's true that none of these buildings hold a candle to the churches that were built in the pioneer era and shortly thereafter. Back then, despite the fact that the people had nowhere near the level of money or technology that we do now, they built these incredible churches in the late 1800s and especially in the early 1900s that stand heads and shoulders above anything built today. Unfortunately, this burgeoning vernacular architectural tradition was killed in the cradle by modernity sometime in the 1950s. And while I wish we could get back to building these landmarks, I understand why maybe our resources are better spent elsewhere. Especially since that ignores the secret superpower the cookie-cutter meeting house has. Protection from NIMBYs. I told you guys I was a nerd. NIMBYism, or not in my backyard, just means that it's a lot harder to build stuff in America than it used to be for reasons that are actually good and justifiable, and would be really interesting to talk about in a different video. And it's even harder to build things if you're a bunch of Mormon weirdos trying to build a weirdo Mormon church. These are not small buildings, and they're not particularly short buildings either. But because the steeple is so small compared to the building footprint, and because much of the height of the building slopes away from you up the roof, it does a good job of looking smaller than it is and being just innocuous enough to not attract too much attention to itself. Which is good, because first off, we want to build a lot of these things, and second, we need to spend our energy fighting more important battles. But on the subject of revitalizing lost traditions, that's why I like my favorite building so much, the new administration building going up at BYU. And when I say this is my favorite, I mean it's actually my second favorite, but because you don't know anything about the School of Medicine building, neither do I. Anyway, it is obviously a modern building built with modern construction techniques, but it carries forward the Latter day Saint architectural tradition in a really neat way. It's got the bricks, it's got the stonework details, it's got the arched windows. It's what you get if you take this tradition and bring it forward into the modern age. This kind of stuff is important for preserving the beauty of our cultural heritage. I'm glad to see it here, and I'm glad to see it on the Spanish Fork Temple also. Which leads me to my one negative review of this video, which is the new Logan Institute building. It's not that this is a bad looking building, it just doesn't look especially like a Latter day Saint building or like a religious building at all. It looks like you could pick it up and drop it on any college campus teaching any subject and it would fit in just fine. And that's a miss for the preservation of our heritage, especially since a historic building was torn down to make space for it. Even though it doesn't look bad on its own, I've got to give it a thumbs down. Overall, I'd rate the new buildings coming out right now as a solid 8 out of 10. And if you're from the church's architecture department and you're a perfectionist and you want to earn a few more points, I'll give you some tips. First off, some temples and some meeting houses are rather bland, so increase the budget for fiddly details a little bit. Second off, remember that you are the custodian of a beautiful architectural and cultural tradition that needs to be resuscitated after the disaster of the 20th century. I mean, I fed this through my slop machine, and on one pass it came up with something way better, so, keep that in mind. And third off, tear down the church office building and replace it with something that looks like it belongs to the Lord's true church, not like it belongs to Insuricare. It's ugly, we both know you want to, so do it.